On Tech News Today, Facebook plans to support 360-degree videos. Google's self-driving car project may become a real company, and the Pentagon creates a touchy-feely bionic arm. It's all coming up next on Tech News Today.
This is Twit.
Bandwidth for Tech News Today is provided by CacheFly at CACHEFLY.com.
This is Tech News Today for Monday, September 14th, 2015. This episode is brought to you by ZipRecruiter. Are you hiring? With ZipRecruiter.com, you can post to 100-plus job sites, including social networks, all with a single click. Screen, rate, and hire the right candidates fast. Try ZipRecruiter with a free 4-day trial now at ZipRecruiter.com/TNT. And by Gazelle. Would you like to get cash for your old iPhone? Gazelle makes it easy. The shipping is free and the payment is fast. Find out what your iPhone's worth at Gazelle.com. Tech News Today is the show where we talk about the tech news with the journalists who report it. My name is Mike Elgan. Welcome to the show. And our co-anchor today is CNET.com editor-in-chief, Lindsey Turrentine. Hey, Lindsey, how you doing?
Hey, Mike. Happy Monday.
I'm glad you survived the big Apple onslaught last week. We got a ton of news today, so let's jump right into it. Changing your profile pic to support a cause or an event is a thing. Trouble is that a lot of people never get around to changing it back. Now Facebook has a solution. Josh Constine is a senior writer for TechCrunch and has the exclusive on this and joins us now. Welcome to the show, Josh.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming on. Now, how is Facebook planning to deal with the temporary profile pic that ends up being permanent?
So the issue was that before, if somebody wanted to support a cause, their profile picture was the best way to do it. It's like the message that you send all the time. Everyone who sees you on Facebook sees that. So if you turn your profile picture rainbow to support gay rights, or you turned it green to support the Arab Spring, that would get a lot of views. But the problem was, if you didn't explicitly change it back, you might end up with this sort of stale meme or supporting a campaign that really doesn't need your help anymore. And so people would end up with these profiles for a long time. 26 million people changed their profiles rainbow this way with a special tool that Facebook built. So it doesn't want people to end up with those stale profile pictures anymore, so it built this new feature.
So, Josh, this sounds awesome, and I want it because I've spent way too much of my time fiddling with my Facebook profile picture, and I am busy. So when can I get this? Who gets it first?
So it's starting to roll out with just a few people, but Facebook likes the way it's working, so I think it's probably going to get a rollout to everyone. So essentially what will happen is that when you go to your profile picture, if you change it, you'll have the option to set an expiration date for that change, a few hours, days, or weeks. And then when that expiration date hits, your profile picture will go back to the old one that you like, and you won't have that same crazy Burning Man photo or that one supporting your friend's art gallery opening. And I think that that's going to be really good for Facebook because it will make causes and supporting good charities and causes much more easy, and it'll give people that confidence that they're not going to end up screwing up their web presence for too long just by supporting someone.
So one last question. Now, this obviously you're spinning this as a positive, but I detected in your actual article that it's not always positive to encourage people to change their profile pictures. Why might this not be a great thing?
It is. It definitely is a double-edged sword because the problem is that the profile picture is the way that people recognize you on Facebook. If you've ever looked at somebody else's Facebook, looking at their newsfeed, it's so confusing because there's all these different profile pictures that you've never seen and you don't recognize anyone. You have to read the name of everything. And so with this, if it encourages too many people to constantly change their profile pictures to a temporary one, which doesn't actually show their face or obscures it, it might be harder to use Facebook overall because you just won't be able to recognize your friends at a glance. So it's a bit of a double-edged sword, but I think Facebook thinks that it's better to have that people are basically doing this anyways. It's following emergent behavior, and I think that's always a good way to do a product roadmap. It knows that people want to do this. It's just going to make it easier to undo it.
Oh, good. And I guess I'll have to change my my Gary Coleman for California governor profile pic. That's a little overdue.
I'm sure we can find you a cool new meme to put in your profile.
Wonderful. Thank you. I appreciate that. Josh Constine is at TechCrunch.com. and on Twitter at Josh Constine. Thanks for joining us today, Josh.
My pleasure.
More news coming right up, but first, let's talk about ZipRecruiter, the way to hire. If you want to hire the best people, which of course you do, it's really important to hire great people. ZipRecruiter is the place to do it. You can cast a super wide net. all over the internet, which is, of course, where you're going to find the best candidates. They're going to be literally everywhere. You can post to 100-plus job sites with a single click. So easy to use. And you can also be instantly matched to candidates from more than 6 million resumes in their enormous resume database. Just post once, and within 24 hours, you can watch your candidates roll into ZipRecruiter's easy-to-use interface. And we have a testimonial from a happy user named Tara, who said ZipRecruiter has completely changed the way we evaluate and manage candidates. As a small business, we subscribe to the always be hiring approach to growth, and the tools available to us through our membership have made that simpler, easier, and faster. And I think Tara really hits the nail on the head there, because you really want to change the way you hire. You want to accelerate certain aspects of it. You want to do it smarter. You want to think long term, and ZipRecruiter always helps you do that. They're mobile optimized. You can have custom branding. You can add multiple users to your account at no extra charge, and you can even set up your own careers page. So, you want to think long term and have that careers page. And if you can, for your department or your small company, you always want to be hiring, just like Tara said. That's a great way to go. Today, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. Just go to ZipRecruiter.com/TNT. That's ZipRecruiter.com/TNT. And we thank ZipRecruiter for their support of Tech News Today. The Wall Street Journal reported in exclusive that Facebook is working on a mobile app that would enable the viewing of 360-degree videos. Deepa Seetharaman is a tech reporter for the Wall Street Journal and joins us now. Welcome to the show, Deepa.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming on. Now, is this, I'm not really clear on this, is this for virtual reality, as in wearing virtual reality goggles of some kind, or would this just enable the watching of videos with a smartphone where you just move the phone around to see different parts of the video?
So our understanding is that it's the latter. So on the spectrum of virtual reality, this would be on the lower end. It's not nearly as immersive as Oculus and the full headset, where you're sort of drowning in a video and you're completely subsumed in it. But it is a start, and it's a way for Facebook to introduce virtual reality to the masses potentially.
So I've actually, CNET's created some of this 360 video we did for E3, and we were able to upload it to YouTube, and YouTube actually already does this. If you watch one of these 360 videos on your phone via YouTube, you can actually, you can move the phone around. You can do a lot of what Facebook is talking about here. You can also use it in Cardboard. Is this going to work with YouTube videos also? How are these things going to cross-pollinate, or is this essentially just creating the same thing that YouTube is already doing?
So it's really early. So there's a lot of details that are still kind of up in the air. But being resolved right now. But our understanding, it's a standalone video app, and it's for Facebook content that you find on Facebook anyway. And it's a way of putting together all in one place some of the virtual reality content that's being created for Oculus. It's being created, by virtual reality kind of videographers and people that might be doing it now and might be doing it for YouTube, but will soon be doing it for Facebook. So it's a way of putting it together and giving a lot of different people access to it. But again, I want to make it really clear. This is something that's still in the works, and people are still figuring out what this will actually look like.
Deepa, do you think it would be unreasonable to suggest that this might be circumstantial evidence that Facebook is going to do essentially everything that YouTube does? It's essentially compete directly head-on-head with YouTube. I mean, they're doing other things in the world of video, but mostly they're still dependent too much on YouTube, and of course Google is a major rival. Do you think this is evidence of that, or is this not to be considered evidence?
No, I think that's a very fair interpretation of what's happening. I think that Facebook really changed the discussion around virtual reality when it purchased Oculus, and it's still lagging in video, and that's definitely Mark Zuckerberg is very focused on video, is very focused on what on how the company can invest in this area and bring it to the fore. And so that's definitely in YouTube's wheelhouse, and so I think you could say that this is part of their advance against YouTube.
And of course, Mark Zuckerberg also has said that the future of social is in virtual reality. And between the current reality and the future of virtual reality, there are probably going to be some baby steps, and they may consider this to be one of those somehow. Not really sure exactly how that might work until people have real-time streaming of 360-degree videos, which I don't think the internets are ready to handle that. But clearly they want to get into the virtual reality business. Deepa Seetharaman is at WSJ.com and on Twitter at DSeetharaman. Deepa, thank you so much for joining us today.
My pleasure.
As we told you previously, Apple is coming out with an ad-supported news app with iOS 9, and advertisers don't like it, according to a piece in the New York Post. James Covert is a technology reporter for the Post and joins us now. Welcome to the show, James.
Thanks, Mike. Appreciate it.
Thanks for coming on. Now, why don't advertisers like Apple News?
Well, because it's not letting them, run around and post a lot of trashy, annoying ads all over the web pages like they are accustomed to doing, which is what they've had to do really to make any money under the sort of ugly regime that's evolved over the past 10 or 15 years.
So, James, is it just advertisers who are angry about this, or are publishers equally nervous or wary? How are the publishers sorting out along these lines? Do they like it? Do they not like it?
I think it's, I think everybody's nervous. I think both camps are nervous. I think what I just said about the advertisers goes for the publishers too. Let's face it, the internet has evolved in ways that aren't always completely slick and pretty and zen-like, in ways that Steve Jobs would have appreciated. And Apple is basically involved in this endeavor to kind of try to retrofit everything to where you get this slick interface that's fun to use and doesn't involve a lot of pop-ups and 15-second screen loading times. And there's going to be a lot of blood along the way for people who've been making money with all that sort of thing.
Well, they'll be able to go to Instagram because, of course, Instagram announced last week that they're going to be taking ads from all comers. They've been testing advertising and carefully selecting the kind of ads that Apple might accept. And then in the future, they're just going to select whatever junk they want to select. And, of course, that's owned by Facebook, and it's probably going to make Instagram a lot less appealing, less zen-like, as you said. Now, one exec told you that they feel like Taylor Swift. What was meant by that?
Well, I think it's an interesting analogy because, he's kind of drawing an analogy between Apple News and Apple Music. Taylor was sort of griping about how Apple Music is this big fancy interface that's going to be a great way for everybody to consume music. But as in so many of these, with these streaming apps that have come out over the past, 5-10 years, artists are getting left out of the equation and how they're going to get compensated. So in a sort of amusing way, he's likening himself and Madison Avenue to a starving artist, but they really are in the same position in a way, and that Apple, they're the third or fourth priority for Apple as Apple is rolling out these services. Apple is always going to be focused on the customer and how great is the customer experience. And advertisers are, in this case, are going to be third or fourth down on the totem pole at best as they are doing triage to roll this thing out.
So, James, in my experience with advertisers, they may be low on the totem pole at first, but eventually advertisers are, they're the bread and butter. This is how Apple's going to make money off of this service. And, we know that Apple has more money than pretty much anybody else in the known universe, and they can probably skate for quite some time without making much profit. But eventually those advertisers are going to say, no, I want something a little more special. I want special treatment for my advertisements. I want, custom layouts and doing something that's never been done before, because that's what advertisers always want to do. How long do you think Apple can sort of toe this line? It seems like a lot of hubris to think that they can kind of tell advertisers what to do forever.
Well, look, I think you make a great point. On the one hand, people will argue that Apple is a little bit different in that they're not really selling ads at the end of the day. They're selling iPhones and computers and so on, and ads are not as important to their business model as they are, for example, Facebook. but there is nevertheless going to be a lot of urgency for the publishers. You know, publishers sell ads, and they need a way to make money. And so their voices are going to have to eventually be heard. And there's already hints of that, like I mentioned in the article with the New York Times and the Wall Street Journal, and some of these publications that are prestigious and fancy enough and have enough loyal readership that they can command some respectable subscription revenue streams. And so I think, you know, a lot of the conversation is also going to probably evolve towards, you know, how are these subscriptions going to be accounted for? Who's going to be taking them and making them and booking them and so on? You know, if you have a subscription to the Times or the Journal, are you going to be buying it from Apple or the Wall Street Journal directly? That kind of thing. So I think, you know, there's going to be there already is a tug of war going on that in all of these fronts. And it'll be interesting to see how it evolves.
It certainly will. And of course, Apple is also in the overall user experience business. And I would suggest that one of the main reasons for taking ads at all is just to bring in the big publishers, because they're going to want to monetize, as you said. James Covert is at nypost.com and on Twitter at JamesCovert1. James, thank you so much for joining us today.
Sure thing.
The Pentagon has successfully created a prosthetic arm that the wearer can feel. In other words, they can feel pressure and other information from the fingertips. Mike Murphy writes for Quartz and joins us now. Hey, Mike, welcome to the show.
Hey, Mike, thanks for having me.
Glad to have you on, as always. Now, how does this prosthetic arm enable a sense of touch exactly?
So it's pretty crazy. Basically, the prosthetic has two sets of wires that connect into your brain. Half the wires connect into the sensory cortex, which is what the part of the brain that controls your feeling of touch. And the other half is connected into your motor cortex, which is how your brain controls your muscles. So essentially, the robot arm has sensors built into it that connect up to that sensory cortex, giving your brain the feeling that's not too dissimilar from what it would feel like if your actual hand had touched something.
So do we know people who have worn this, do they say that it feels very much like the feeling they get from their other hand, or is it just sort of an approximation?
Yeah. So from what DARPA has released so far, it basically is almost exactly like a human sense of touch. They haven't said quite how sensitive it actually is. You know, if you could feel the difference between sandpaper or something like that. But they're going to release more information after it's been peer-reviewed and submitted to a scientific journal for review.
And I imagine that the ability to create this sense of touch has a lot to do with how the human brain works. It maps around and wants to feel. It's designed, you know, to understand where the hand is and what the fingertips feel and so on. So I imagine just putting those electrodes in there will bring the brain a long way along with this. And this is like such amazing science fiction. This has been in so many science fiction books and movies and so on, partly because it has this sense of touch and partly because it's thought controlled. So it's controlled with thoughts, and then, you know, it's basically kind of like a regular human arm. How does this thought control work in general?
So it's pretty much, you know, the same way that you would control your own arms. It's an electrical impulse that's sent from your brain, and instead of it going down the nerves in your arm, it's going down the wires in this prosthetic. And, you know, it's not too dissimilar from what Luke Skywalker had in Empire Strikes Back. And actually, when I went to a DARPA conference back in, I think it was July or late June, the program managers all kept referring to Star Wars and Luke Skywalker as one of their big influences. So it's crazy to see these things that are from the science fiction movies that we grew up with actually becoming reality.
This is just so cool, and I love the DARPA videos showing the wearer rock climbing on an indoor rock wall. And I was just thinking, my son's a rock climber. He broke his arm, and he can't climb. But this guy, with his Luke Skywalker arm, is is able to go up this. It's just amazing. It's amazing.
It really is. And, you know, I'm kind of shocked that we're able to do something like this. I don't know how long it's going to be before it's the sort of thing that we could actually see being used in clinical trials, or, you know, helping out people who've had severe injuries. But obviously DARPA, you know, being part of the military, wants to help all of our wounded veterans. So it's crazy to think that we're not too far away from a future where, you know, when we have a severe injury, we just go to the hospital and get a new arm, a new robot arm.
And there's so much promise here. I mean, the first step will be to mirror the capabilities of a human arm, and then the next step is to exceed them, to where, you know, you can crush a toaster with your bare hands, and, you know, everyone can palm a basketball. I'm looking forward to that future. And if they keep, you know, if they keep reinventing Star Wars technology, then I guess we're going to have lightsabers next and stuff like that. So that'll be something to look forward to. Mike Murphy is at QZ.com. That's the court's website, and on Twitter at MCWM. Mike, thanks for coming on and giving us a hand today.
No problem.
All right. Well, NASA is launching a TV channel. Marianne Russon is a technology reporter for the International Business Times and joins us now to talk about it. Hey, Marianne, welcome to the show.
Hi, Mike. Thanks for having me.
And appreciate you coming on. Now, what the heck is NASA going to put on this channel?
They're going to put on all of the stuff that they've been collecting over the last year, possibly longer, of HD cameras, which are stationed outside the International Space Station and are collecting amazing ultra high definition footage of views of Earth from space and views of weather disruptions, thunder, lightning, sunrises, sunsets.
This is so cool. So where's NASA going to put this channel, and how can we watch it?
Well, it sounds like it's going to be broadcast, first of all, in the US, so it'll probably be a completely normal cable satellite TV channel, and they're also trying to see if they can get basically all of your US pay TV operators to pick it up. So first of all, it'll start in the US, but they're also hoping, I think, to hopefully bring it outside the US, because there's such a huge amount of interest in watching all of this sort of footage.
Isn't there already a live HD video feed coming out of the space station, and how popular is that?
It is hugely popular. So we covered it when it first came out last year, which was at the end of April. And since we covered it, to date, there's been 57.3 million total views. I'm looking at the stream right now. It just keeps running 24/7, and it just literally just shows whatever's on the cameras, and it just keeps showing them for 24 hours every day. And there are 1,000 people watching it at the moment and commenting on this live chat about what's going on and how interested they are in space.
This is going to be so amazing. I love this kind of thing. And, you know, I think this will interest a lot of young people into becoming astronauts and engineers and maybe 4K videographers. Who knows? And the next step, of course, is going to be, once they can figure out the bandwidth issues, like 360-degree, 3D, you know, virtual reality. That would be really cool as well. Marianne Russon is a technology reporter for the International Business Times at ibtimes.co.uk and on Twitter at Constantine226. Thank you so much for joining us today, Marianne.
Thank you.
Well, it looks like Google's self-driving car project is getting real. Google announced that they're hired a CEO. That suggests Google will create a self-driving car company under the Alphabet umbrella. The new CEO will be John Krafchick, who's president of the online car shopping service TrueCar, and who spent more than a decade each at Ford and Hyundai. The current head of the project, Chris Urmson, will run technical development of Google's autonomous vehicles and the software that makes it possible. Lindsey Turrentine, this is the kind of thing that is behind, I believe, Google's creation of the whole Alphabet model for the company. They want to do these, you know, they want to launch these companies that are so far away from search engines that keeping it all into the same company wouldn't really make a lot of sense. It would make people confused about what kind of company Google is. But in this case, it looks like the self-driving car company gets to be its own company.
Yeah, this is really interesting. I mean, I agree that this is what Google's driving at. Google needs to be able to separate everything else. Yeah. But what's interesting is that the company actually, Google told Recode that this is not an Alphabet company yet. It's not ready to be that yet. That doesn't mean it won't be someday, but that's not the plan in the immediate future, which is a little bit mystifying, right? They're hiring a CEO. It's going to be its own company, but not an Alphabet company. What does that mean? It's still part of Google. It's still part of Google X. And, I think it's a reminder that self-driving cars, while a lot of the technology is essentially here today, if you buy a new car that has things like adaptive cruise control and lane assist, you have many of the technologies in a self-driving car already. But a fully autonomous car like these with no steering wheel and is still so far off because of the handoff issues at the end of every drive that Google's really kind of hedging its bets here.
Yeah, and there's an interesting thing that's happening. What's happening is that the companies like Google that are working on self-driving cars are hiring from the auto industry, just as in this case. There's also a trend. The car companies, the traditional car companies, are freaking out as well, and they're hiring people from Silicon Valley, software experts, self-driving. Yeah. So there's this cross-poaching process that's happening. Everybody's afraid that the other's going to run away with their business. And I believe that the current strategy for Google self-driving cars is not to actually make cars, but to work with other companies to license them and so on. I don't think they're going to set up big car fabs and become a new Tesla or anything like that.
Oh, no. I think we're talking about fleets, like company fleets, get people around campus, that kind of thing.
Yeah, but one of the biggest tech companies behind this is Uber, of course. They're poaching like crazy. Recently poached more than 40 scientists from a single university, Carnegie Mellon, which has always been a leader in self-driving car technology. And of course, they have all these problems about their drivers, our drivers' employees, they're sexual assault cases that give the company a bad reputation. Taxi drivers are freaking out that, they're employing people without paying them all. The solution is get rid of the drivers. And I think Uber is heading in that direction where they just have the fleet of cars and not worry about the drivers so much. So very interesting story. Well, Microsoft has acquired Double Labs, which makes a popular and free Android app called Echo Notification Lock Screen. The app competes directly with Microsoft's own Next Lock Screen app. Lindsey Turrentine, why does Microsoft want to have an Android lock screen?
Well, Microsoft is branching out, right? I mean, Microsoft is clearly moving away from pushing Windows Phone as the future of Microsoft, and Microsoft is going back to its roots and becoming a services and software company again. And I mean, we saw that they're working with Apple. Yeah. So why not work with Android, right? Yeah. Microsoft is like, hey, we're friends with everybody. We're just going to make cool stuff that you want no matter what your platform is, which I think is great, honestly.
I think it's great, too. I just wonder if they know where they're going with this because these apps are free, so there's no monetization there. I don't know if they're going to use it to promote, Office or something. I mean, I don't know what the end game is. I doubt they just feel like donating a free app to the world on Android or help the Android user experience be better.
It may be about collecting a user base, right? Establishing a user base, getting more trust, getting people on board, and then slowly transitioning them to other products.
Could be. Could be. Well, more news coming right up. But first, I want to talk about Gazelle. Something big just happened last week. Apple just came out with a couple new phones. And what that means is that the old phones are going to be something, if you have an iPhone or if you have an Android phone you want to sell to move to Apple or to another Android phone, you're going to want to sell to Gazelle. But right now is a key time to do it. I would go to Gazelle today if you have an iPhone that you want to sell and find out what your iPhone's worth. Just go to gazelle.com, indicate the exact phone you have, which carrier it's on, what the condition is, whether it's in great condition or scratched or whatever, and they'll give you a price. And then you're going to want to sell to Gazelle before, during, or after the point where you buy that next phone. And now is the time to do it because, of course, this is when prices plummet. When new devices come out, the old stuff, everything moves to the left, and the old stuff becomes less valuable. So you definitely want to go to Gazelle and sell your phone. Now's the time to do it, and highly recommend it. I also recommend buying your next phone from Gazelle because you'll get a much better price. You'll get more phone for the same money, and that is definitely worth doing. Trade in your used phone and electronics for cash. Visit Gazelle.com today And we thank Gazelle for their support of Tech News Today. Well, speaking of Microsoft, in the Human Resources Department, Microsoft has promoted its longtime top lawyer, Brad Smith, to president of the company and chief legal officer. Now, this is interesting because this is the first time Microsoft has had a company-wide president since 2002, when Rick Belluzzo left. Smith has worked at Microsoft since 1993. This is a famous guy, and I think, Lindsey Turrentine, that big companies like Microsoft have to keep promoting these guys if they want to keep them, because you know, Brad Smith is a hot property. He could write his own ticket in anywhere in the industry.
Sure. Yeah. Well, and also, you know, Satya Nadella is a different kind of CEO from Ballmer before him. He's out there talking to people more, I feel, and he's really he seems to be working more. I don't know how else to say this, but he probably needs the help. Quite honestly.
He's different from Ballmer in every single way, and I've written multiple columns on this, and so it's kind of a long-term theme with me. But he's different in the sense, he's different from Ballmer in the sense that he's competent. He knows what he's doing. He's a good leader.
Ouch.
He's an intelligent person. He knows how to manage people, and he understands the value of the company he's running. Ballmer was a terrible, terrible CEO. Under his watch, the value of Microsoft plummeted to a fraction of what it was when he took over. And so it's just, you know, they should have gotten rid of Ballmer 5 years ago, I think. But that's just...
Oh, sure. Satya is great.
Yeah, he is very good. Our TNT fan of the day is Paul Spenard, who posted this awesome picture on Google+. Check this out. This is like a dream office for anybody who's a musician or a guitar player. That's beautiful. Look at that. And, of course, Twit is all over the place. And TNT on the big screen there. Very, very cool. Show us how you watch or listen to TNT. Just record a video or take a picture of yourself or your setup and post it on Instagram, Google+, Twitter, or Facebook, and use the hashtag HowIWatchTNT so we can find it. Lindsey Turrentine, what are you working on over at CNET.com?
Oh, my gosh. We've got a big surprise Wednesday morning.
Really?
Yeah. Big surprise Wednesday morning. Can't tell you what it is.
Oh, sure you can.
Super
sure you can.
excited. No, I can't.
Just between you and me.
Wednesday morning, CNET.com, something that we've been working on for a while, and we're really excited about it.
I'm going to guess your CNET.com is coming out with a self-driving car. No?
That's it. That's right. We poached an entire university's worth of engineers, and it'll be a car plastered with CNET articles.
Everybody's doing it. Lindsey Turrentine, thank you so much, and we'll see you next week.
Thanks, Mike.
Let us know what's on your mind. Send email to tnt@twit.tv or call 260-TNT-SHOW. That's 260-868-7469. You can subscribe to Tech News Today the old-fashioned way via RSS, or you can choose another way to subscribe at twit.tv/TNT. You can watch us live every weekday at 10 a.m. Pacific, 1700 UTC at twit.tv/live, and you can follow us on Twitter at Tech News Today TV. You can follow me at elgan.com. And don't miss our other news show, Tech News Tonight, at 4 p.m. Pacific every single weeknight. And that is the Tech News Today. This show is produced by Jason Cleanthes and edited by Anthony Nielsen. My name's Mike Elgan. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you tomorrow.